Tonight, we begin with a development that regional security officials, intelligence analysts, and diplomatic insiders have feared, tracked, and quietly prepared for. A development that unfolded not over months, but in hours. Hours that pushed Iran deeper into digital darkness. Hours that triggered renewed warnings from Israel. Hours that raised alarms across intelligence agencies worldwide. What Iran did today crossed a line that international observers had hoped would hold. And when that line broke, Israel did not hesitate. They responded with clarity, resolve, and an unmistakable warning. For weeks now, there have been signals, not official statements, not formal announcements, just patterns and anomalies, that Iran was preparing something unusual. Iran has been secretive, yes, but they have also been methodical in their secrecy. Their moves have followed a certain rhythm, a cycle, almost a doctrine. But what set off alarm bells in Jerusalem and Washington this week was that the rhythm went silent. Experts who monitor digital infrastructure, cyber activity, and regional communications know the indicators. The gradual throttling of internet access, the disappearance of mobile data in key regions, the rerouting of international traffic, the sudden near-total blackout. All of that went quiet. And whenever Iran goes quiet, it means something is about to get loud. Early today, regional cyber monitoring agencies detected what they described as a coordinated, nationwide digital suppression, including network shutdowns and traffic isolation that had not been implemented at this scale in over a decade. These are the kinds of digital controls that Iran only deploys when they are signaling something very specific: internal unrest, external escalation, or preparation for confrontation. Observers didn't know which category this fell into, or whether it fell into all three at once. But what they did know was that Iran was changing posture. And when a state actor shifts posture without explanation, even by a small margin, regional powers pay attention. The warning issued by Israel tonight was not normal. It was not routine. It was not symbolic. It was urgent. Security sources, after high-level consultations, describe Iran's move as calculated, provocative, and perhaps most importantly, destabilizing because it limits visibility and accountability. But deterrence only works if the target hesitates. Israel did not. In fact, their response today was among the clearest strategic signals we've seen in recent regional history. Here's what we know. Within hours of the digital blackout expanding, Israel issued a renewed warning, reinforcing red lines and readiness. These weren't the usual diplomatic statements. These were direct security messages, language that Israel only uses when preparing for high-stakes scenarios. Tonight, regional security sources confirmed that Israel elevated readiness levels, focusing on potential launch, cyber, and proxy coordination nodes that had recently been operating under reduced visibility. Israel acted before Iran could leverage the blackout. They focused on command and control risks, cyber escalation pathways, proxy coordination channels, likely preparing to operate unseen. In other words, Israel targeted the infrastructure of escalation, the component that would have made covert action possible. This is what made the warning so urgent. Iran's digital blackout wasn't just symbolic. It was operational. It represented the kind of move that could mask mobilization, cyber operations, or internal crackdowns if left unchecked. And Israel, understanding that fully, responded with force. Not recklessly, not impulsively, but strategically. They didn't overreact. They didn't wait blindly. They reinforced deterrence. They reinforced visibility, and here's where the story becomes even more intense. Analysts now believe that Iran's blackout was designed to test the resolve and reaction time of regional adversaries after months of escalating pressure. Iran wanted to see whether Israel would hesitate. But instead, the opposite happened. Israel didn't delay. They signaled readiness so clearly, so decisively, that Tehran noticed. You don't get Iran's attention easily. But today, Israel did. One senior regional analyst described Iran's move as strategic opacity, a way to operate without scrutiny. But Israel proved today that it remains both alert and prepared. Their actions were not only measured, they were precise, so precise that they closed off escalation paths before they could open. That matters because it shows anticipation. It shows Israel is not reactive. They are proactive as reports continued coming in throughout the day, we learned more about the scale of Israel's response. Israeli Defense Forces adjusted regional readiness, forcing immediate recalculations. Cyber defense units focused on infrastructure that had been quietly active in recent weeks. Regional partners operating in shared intelligence zones reportedly increased monitoring of channels used by Iran-linked groups. This wasn't just posturing. This wasn't just messaging. This was deterrence signaling. This was strategic containment. And containment is the one thing Iran has struggled to maintain since regional tensions escalated. For every step Iran has taken into the shadows, Israel has responded by pulling those shadows into the light. Remember, Iran thought digital isolation would reduce scrutiny. They thought blackouts would limit response. They thought silence would create space. But tonight, the exact opposite is happening. Silence triggered alarms. Blackout triggered warnings. Isolation triggered coordination. History shows us this pattern. When Iran tightens control internally, external pressure follows. What makes this moment so dangerous and so revealing is that Iran's move comes at a time when its leadership is under intense pressure. Hardliners want confrontation. Reformists want stability. Security elites want control. The public wants connectivity and relief. Iran's leadership is balancing these demands while regional tension continues to rise. And when leaders in that position make sudden moves, they're not acting from confidence. They're acting from pressure. They're acting from vulnerability. Meanwhile, Israeli leadership addressed the public and allies in a firm, measured address. He said, "We will not allow darkness to be used as cover." He said, "Israel remains prepared for all scenarios." And he said, "Those who test our resolve will find it intact." These are not rhetorical flourishes. These are statements from a leadership that understands how high the stakes have become. Here's what makes the situation even more concerning. Iran's move wasn't isolated. Along with the digital blackout, proxy groups increased messaging discipline. Cyber chatter spiked briefly, then disappeared. Regional actors reported heightened coordination attempts. All of this happened within the same time window. When Iran moves multiple pieces at once, it means something larger is underway. Analysts are now considering several possibilities. One is that Iran is preparing internal security actions. Another is that Iran is attempting to shield external operations. A third, the one worrying officials the most, is that Iran is testing escalation thresholds. But today, Israel removed one variable. They didn't wait. They didn't downplay. They didn't ignore. They responded. What we're watching now is a test of resolve. Iran wants to see how far it can push silence. Israel wants to show silence will not shield escalation. Regional partners want to prevent miscalculation. Global powers want to prevent another front from opening. Tonight, sources say monitoring has intensified. They say connectivity remains restricted. They say regional alert levels remain elevated. And they say Iran's decision is likely part of a broader strategy intended to control timing and perception. But Israel is not disengaging. In fact, Israel is more alert than before. Their response, measured, visible, and firm, sent a message to Iran that darkness does not equal safety. And it sent a message to allies that deterrence is active as the hours ahead unfold. More details will emerge about what Iran hoped to achieve. But what we do know is that Israel's response was timely. It clarified red lines. It reduced ambiguity. And it raised the cost of escalation. What happens next depends on Iran's next move. If they escalate, this moment will be remembered as a warning ignored. If they pause, it will be remembered as a line that held. Either way, readiness has been shown. And tonight, for the first time in days, Iran appears to be quiet. Tehran is dark, too dark. And when Iran goes dark, it means decisions are being made. Because tonight, Iran learned something they've learned before. Silence invites scrutiny. Blackouts raise alarms. And deterrence still works. This story is far from over. But tonight, one thing is clear. The region is watching. Israel is ready. And the next move matters. We'll be here, watching every detail as the next phase unfolds.